Good morning once again, and thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise at Sea here on CTV. Welcome to this segment, the last segment of the show, and that is Our Views, where we talk about real-life conversations. And joining me today are the ladies, as usual, Sarah Apollo, Shivan Auma, and Priva Elivers. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Happy Tuesday. Yes, that
Very
one.
cold.
Very cold. It is actually.
Today is World Blueberry Donut Day.
What is that?
Yeah.
A blueberry donut.
I'm not a sweet tooth, so you'd understand why we didn't know these things.
Okay, World Blueberry Donut Chili Day.
Okay.
Chili as
Chili.
well. Chili and blueberry.
Anyway, today we are talking about parental controls. This is something that you have probably heard of, but I'll just give you the definition of what it is. Now, parental controls are features which may be included in digital television services, computers, and video games as well. It can be mobile devices, software, among others, that are usually put in by parents to restrict their children from accessing certain information and certain content online. And today we are basically talking about control and deprivation. Should you control how much content or how much online content should your child consume, or should you actually deprive them completely until they are of age? Maybe you can say 18. Some of us, I remember back in the day, I'll just give you a brief story about myself. My mother, actually our father wanted us to give us phones when we were at least about 14, but our mother said no, until you are 18, you are not actually going to have a phone. So for me, as Wase, I didn't have a phone until 18 years of age. If you needed to use a phone, you'd have to ask for my mom's phone to use it. The other thing is we are actually also going to talk about print media, magazines, newspapers, because there are some sections in newspapers. It could be, I'm not going to mention names, but you find where they have explicit content in there. So can you actually deprive your child from consuming that kind of information? Are you going to buy the newspapers and put them on the side, or, you know, shelve them in your bedroom so that your child does not access them? We are going to talk about the benefits, the consequences, and everything actually surrounding it. But before I get the ladies' opinion in regard to parental controls, let's first take a look at a video that explains about parental controls.
My dear parents, please pay attention to what your kids are watching on your iPad.
Sorry about that. The video is actually not clear, but what it's talking about is actually control and deprivation of how much online content your child should be able to take in. So to start with, ladies, I'd like to ask you, do you think parental controls are a good or a bad thing?
Absolutely good. They're very good. They're very good because at the end of the day, children, they need all the guidance that you can offer them as a parent. Trust me, they need it. They need it. Personally, if I didn't get the guidance that I had when I was younger, I don't think I would be where I am right now. I never had a phone until I was 17. Yeah, my own personal phone. And like Aggie mentioned in her preamble, like, we used to use our parents' phone. Yeah, you text someone, like, don't text back. This is my mom's phone.
Don't text me past
I'll be
this
down to
time.
call you. Oh, I'm going to have this phone around, like 6 p.m. So, we can chat around that time. But until the era of social media, where, you're able to, because we were first very popular with Facebook, yeah, back in the day. Like, we used to use Facebook a lot back in high school, and then slowly transitioned to Twitter and stuff like that. But still talking about parents really controlling our lives and, setting standards and, what we watch, what we take in, the newspapers we access. It's very important because, like you mentioned, still earlier on in your preamble, there's a lot of explicit content that is, being put in print media. I cannot mention the newspapers, but everyone must have heard of, something that is called Mr. Something, yeah? And we all know what they talk about and, how they describe all those situations. Imagine now your child started reading those newspapers at the age of 13. If you don't take such a newspaper away from your child, what do you think they're going to, pick out of it? Definitely. They don't have a mind of their own. They cannot tell, right from wrong. You have to constantly tell them, this is wrong, until it registers in their head. So for me, I'm 100% for parental controls.
Okay.
All through. Yeah.
Yes, parental control, yes, I'm on the fence about it, however. In relation to, there's something Priva mentioned, and I think you also highlighted on it. As a parent, you do not want your child to, for example, read that Mr. whatever it is, in the newspaper. Why are you buying the newspaper and bringing it home? You as a parent, aren't you also supposed to take precaution?
Can I answer that?
Just a minute. Wait.
Can I answer that?
Let me explain it. I always tell people, and this is something my dad always tells me, that children are always reading from your script without permission. You do not want your child to take alcohol, but you buy alcohol, you put it in the fridge in your bedroom, and you think that your children are shallow. They
But
do
it's
not
your
know.
bedroom.
But they know. Children always will get to know that, you know what, mommy and daddy are actually drinking, they're actually smoking, and those are the habits they'll pick on. So if you do not want your child to, for example, get that newspaper or get that thing for you, why are you watching it? Why are you reading it? How about you be a responsible parent? But, or why? I'm not an angel.
Honestly,
but in relation,
to have kids in school who used to smuggle those
I
versions
know,
of red paper.
I
and
know,
just
but you
carry them
think
in
where do
school.
they get it from? It's because probably the statistics have shown probably the parents are actually buying these newspapers and then using them to light sigiri. But you forget that if, for example, it's your child lighting the sigiri, they'll read through it. So how about you completely deter from buying certain magazines,
Material, yeah.
certain material that is actually not age appropriate? But in relation to parental control, I think for me, first of all, I'm not a parent, but I would say one thing. If I gave birth to a child and looking at how our parents raised us, after you clock 18 as a teen, as an adult, I would allow you choose what you want to watch. Now here is the thing. From the way you were born up to 18, I will definitely control you. But after 18, I want to give you the liberty to choose, because I want to trust that what I have taught you will remain intact in your head. I would feel if my parent continued to control me, or the kind of media I watch, or the kind of content I see, the kind of, things I do in relation to social media, when I am past 18, I would think they do not trust me. You have grown me up. You have groomed me. Give me the benefit of doubt to do as you have taught me. Do not keep hovering around me. That is why they call the parents who keep hovering around their children that it is a hovering parental style. You're going to make your children feel that they cannot trust you.
At 18, what do you want to explore?
Okay. Before we get to this,
by 18, your parents have taught you what is good and bad. You know that you're not supposed to watch certain content. You know that you're not supposed to you're not supposed to see nude pictures and all these things. Unless, but generally you're not. So what are you doing watching it after the age of 18? Like, in short, I think I'm just talking too much, but in short, what I'm trying to say, after the age of 18, parents should learn to trust that whatever values and principles they have instilled in their children, that they will carry them a long way and not have to hover around them.
Okay, Sarah, I would love to pick your mind on that.
I believe parental control is very important. It's very important to regulate what your children watch, what they read, because they end up becoming what they read and what they associate themselves with. I think, for every stage in life, there is age-appropriate content to it, because there's also age-appropriate content for, people who are preteen to talk about sex. There's age-appropriate content. It may not be as explicit as information that a 20-plus person would be reading. There's age-appropriate content to it, and I think it's very important for parents to always, across the board, always have to regulate, supervise, ask questions, and be curious, because it's easy to say, trust your child, okay? But you need to understand the rules that may apply in your house are not applied outside your house. And there's so much influence around your child. Growing up, I didn't have social media. Growing up, phones were literally just coming, were just literally coming in, like mobile phones. We had the landlines, but then the mobile phones were literally just coming in, and it was something new that everybody was just slowly getting used to, and accustomed with. For me, back then, I had no importance for a phone. Because all my life, all my childhood, I grew up without one. So coming even to being a teenager, I didn't see any use to have a phone. You see, times have now changed. But now you see social media and technology is evolving so fast, it's getting very dangerous. For you to have to say that you're going to trust your child is not going to make reckless mistakes. Even at 18, you still don't know any better. People in their 30s and still don't know better. People in their 40s and still don't know better. Parenting is a new experience every day, and with the way the world is changing, it is new every day. The world today is not what it was yesterday, literally. Software has been upgraded. WhatsApp is not even the same. Do you understand? It is being changed so much. And when you do read on the statistics and the dangers on what not regulating your child's content is going to do to your child, it is too much. Children are getting themselves involved in risky behavior just because it is a trend. There was the Blackout Trend. Did you read about it? Yeah. Do you know how many children died and committed suicide because the trend says choke yourself until you pass out? Now you're going to comfortably say, I am going to trust my child is going to regulate. There were 19-year-olds who were dying from that trend. Remember the Crete challenge?
Yes.
Grown adults were participating in the Crete challenge. Many people broke their limbs, got spinal injuries. Do you understand? So when you say there's no regulation after 18 years old, I think then come on.
Okay. I would say that because I know I will raise my kids the best way to my knowledge.
You think you will?
I know I will. I don't
you think
I will.
you will?
I know
All right,
I will.
moving on. I was still saying, Cardi B went on to say that she can sing about WAP, but you know what the funny thing is that she doesn't let her child listen to her music. But here we are saying it is okay. Let us have liberal children. Make it make sense. The people who are feeding our children garbage and a lot of poison are protecting them from that information.
Their own children.
Their own children. Madonna also applied the same tactic. Protected her children from social media and using phones until they were of age. 20 plus years, then they were able to get on social media.
Okay.
Now we are letting our children take in that nonsense and we're not regulating it. I think parents, there is always a time you can always regulate, and as a parent it is your responsibility till the day you die. It is your responsibility. Period.
Okay, now for me, I think parental controls are actually a very important thing. If anything, I don't think my child will have their own phone until 18. I'll use the same method my parents used on me because it worked for me, it worked for my siblings, and yes, I believe in that. But okay, let's talk about first of all, I need to let you know some of the types of parental controls before the ladies tell me what they think is better: regulation, control, or deprivation, whatever it is. The first one is parental controls by layer. Now, we first need to understand that all types of parental controls are designed to work on particular levels or layers of our technology to filter out explicit content, rather. Now, here are the three main categories in which parental controls tend to work. One of them is application-based parental controls. When you fiddle with the settings in an application like Google Chrome, YouTube, or video game, you're working with parental controls on an app level. The other one is network level, that is router parental controls. The world's best cybersecurity systems are network level operations. Now, the same philosophy should apply to your use of parental controls and content restrictions in your home. The other one is device specific. Quickly run down the list of all the devices that your children use on a weekly basis. Is it a pad, an iPad? Is it a phone? Is it TV? Is it video games? Whatever it is. The other one is parental controls by layer. With no, I mentioned that already. Then also track behavior. The internet may be more developed and secure than it was in the infancy when it just was incepted. Now, but it's still enchanted territory in many ways. You want to know exactly where your children are hanging out online, the apps they are using. Is it Snapchat? Is it Twitter? Is it Instagram? Whatever it is. The other one is network monitoring. Now, this is a type of parental control, network monitoring, which grants the ability to see exactly what is going on across all devices, browsers, and apps for every user on your networks. Now, these are some of the parental controls that you can incorporate in your devices back at home. It can be the TV, it can be, you know, the phones, it can be the iPads, it can be the computer, whatever the case may be. Now, we are talking about deprivation or control. Some parents may choose to say, my child will use their iPad or their phone when I'm at home with them. So for as long as I'm not home, you are not using it. I'll not even leave it to the maid to take care of it, to take care of you when it comes to that. Or others say, you know what, let me just leave my child with their phone. There's those parents who, I don't want to say who couldn't care less. Maybe they do care, but they're not conscious enough.
Their children.
I don't think it's about, I don't think it's an issue of trust, because here's one thing. You see, sometimes you might actually deprive your children of, you know, consuming this kind of content while they are at home, but they see this content back at school. Yeah, so there is that as well. So let's talk about control and deprivation. What method do you think is actually more appropriate or better for your child? I think every method can, work. It has all methods have advantages to it and disadvantages to it, but then it depends on your child, because not all children come the same. You understand? That is why there are different styles of parenting. So you could also apply different, methods of parental control. But regardless of whatever method you apply, it is still important for you to follow up, not just only enough to put passwords and saying I'm regulating you from visiting or stopping you from seeing these sites or visiting these sites or whatever the case may be, because your child can go up and set up fake accounts and still go and visit that information. So it's important for you to still regulate. It's also very important to make sure that if there are any open chats, you find that your chat, you have to regulate. It's very important, because now there are a lot of crazy people on the internet who catfish. There are pedophiles, who will catfish and pretend to be, of the same age as your child and try to lure them into, revealing themselves and getting into, all this inappropriate situation. You have to still regulate. It's not enough to just put passwords. It's not enough. It's not enough to just put firewalls. It's not enough to just completely deprive them from seeing that information. You have to go on and follow up, and also back that up by talking to your child and letting them understand the dangers of the internet. It has many advantages, but you have to also let your child know the dangers. And if you have to show them examples, show them examples, let them see what could happen to them if they go on to misuse their gadgets or go on to view content that they're not supposed to. All movies come with a rating, what is it? It's a rating warning or a rating, they say this is age appropriate for children 12 years, 16, 18, 21 and above. It's important that children understand what those disclaimers mean and why they should follow them or respect that. So it's not enough to just put or restrict them, because they're going to go and the neighbor's child is going to let them see this information, or they're going to go to school and somebody is going to coerce them and brainwash them. We think that as parents we have a hold on our child, but there's so many other people into play. You get your child may be safe at home, but the minute they get out of that door and go to school, you have little to zero power. All you have to do is continue to supervise, regulate, talk to them, get involved, ask them what it is what is it they have watched, what they have learned, please be involved. For me, that is what I would say.
Okay.
Well, for me, what I have to say about
regulation
or
deprivation
of kids using these different sites, I would say regulate. Because we have to admit it, at the end of the day, we're in a world where there's so much internet going on. There's so many apps here and there. You cannot get away from Facebook. You not run out from TikTok. You not run out from Snapchat or Twitter or WhatsApp or all these other apps. You not run away from them. So for me, it's more of like, this generation is different from what we were back in the day. Yeah, back in the day, we were comfortable with our parents not giving us phones, us not communicating with our friends. Like, it was okay, but times have changed. So for me, it's more of like, let's regulate what our kids get access to, because at the end of the day, the same apps that we're talking about, like times have changed, there's the internet and what, they've also offered us options to also control what our kids watch. Like Sarah did mention, she hinted on the fact that there's so many ridiculous people online. Those are some of the things that parents need to keep in mind. There's so many online predators out there. Your kid could land on a weird site that could expose him or her to vulgarity or naked pictures or naked people, stuff like that. So that's why you have to regulate. I mean, these are children, so if you bought let me talk of Apple, because Apple gives really so many options in terms of privacy. You're able to put a password on WhatsApp. Yes, you're able to put a password on all these different apps, as long as you don't want your child to access that. You can have the password and let them access what you want them to access at the time. It's not going to be like 100% you have it in check as a parent. Yeah, because like you also mentioned, you go to school, there are also different kids. You don't know what their parents are doing. You don't know if their parents are actively involved in their lives. If they're trying to, raise right-thinking members of society. You don't know that.
Yeah.
But that's why I think now schools also need to play a certain role. What kind of privacy? No, not privacy, but to what extent are you actually controlling what the kids access on those computers in the computer laboratories? Because I remember, who was I speaking to, I think, outside of studio, and they mentioned that they were so curious back in high school that even when they would go to the computer lab, because at home it wasn't allowed, but they would go to the computer lab and wonder, what the hell is blue movies? Like, what the hell is that? Yeah, curiosity. We don't speak about it, but kids are the most curious people out there. So it's like, we have a role to play as parents, as you regulate, but then also where we don't see our kids in establishments like schools, what are people in the administration doing to make sure kids are not exposed to things that they shouldn't be getting exposed to? Yeah. That's what I would have to say, surely.
Okay, in relation to what Aggie asked, regulation or depriving, I would say regulation. That is for 18, like I said, my stand, 18 years and below, yes, absolutely regulate. But I strongly believe that children need to be taught or need to learn how to manage their own online media presence, what to share, what to upload, what to search, what to read, and all these things. If I have taught my child well, and I have told them this site and this and this and this, even when they go to the neighbor's house and they switch on, like Priva said, a blue movie, they'll probably run back home, you know?
Really?
But that's the thing. You see, but
Kids
now,
are curious.
Exactly, like I said, kids are the most curious people. And surprisingly, okay, that was back in the days, they know more tech than us. So yes, you might be there, you think you're doing parental control, but the kid is busy coding and uncoding and passing all these firewalls that you have put. So how about you teach your child in the way you think and know that they should grow, so that even when you're no longer on this earth, you do not have to worry about them, because for how long will they continue to be under your shadow or under your wings, which is an absolutely beautiful thing. But the other day I was reading some of the stats, and an American writer, and she's a family psychologist, she's called Elaine Shores, she's based in the US. She mentioned and said that 60% of the reason as to why children are always at loggerheads with their parents is because there is no issue of trust. Where does the issue of trust come from? The parents are constantly monitoring their online presence, what they post, what they read, the people they are talking to, going through their WhatsApp messages. I think that's a bit out of control, and that's just being a control freak. Now you're not regulating, you're literally controlling exactly what your child should take in and what they should not take in. A child needs to have a mind of their own and say, my mom, my dad raised me like this, I will not do this. The reason as to why you're very quick to doubt and say, will they really, is because very many times our children, the things that we teach them, they do not apply. The reality is that you should follow in the footsteps of what I've told you. But that is not what happened.
I kind of would like to beg to differ with you when it comes to saying your children, you should allow your children to have a mind of their own. Yes, they can have a mind of their own.
When I say a mind of their own, I'm talking about the adult age, 18 and above.
Siobhan, how old are you? Siobhan, how old are you? Siobhan, how old are you?
When I was beginning my submission, I said regulation only comes when a child is 18 and below. That is my perception.
Still.
18 and above. I am saying that because it worked for us in our home. I saw it work, so I do not know.
The reason I'm asking, I'm sorry that I had to ask about your age.
Just a minute, but I've seen it also work in different family cultures as well. I mean, I have read the stats and I see it work. Of course, there are some cons to it of not regulating, because then your child will go astray and you'll probably lose them. But also when you look at the advantages of it is, one, you build trust. Your child will be able to come and tell you, hey mommy, Sean tapped my bum at school. But if you're not allowing the child to have a mind of their own,
may I please say this? Yes, let me just
what they're seeing, then they might not even have a safe environment.
I'm sure you are above 18 years of age, right? Don't you still get guidance from your parents? That is one. The other thing,
the word that I use is regulation, not deprive. It is in the eyes of your parent, you will always be a child, even when you're 40. They will call you and say, why aren't you home? My grandfather.
So you will always need guidance from your parents. It doesn't matter how old we are.
Yes, but not the creepy thing of, okay, that social media is going to be blocked. Okay, I'm going to put a firewall on this. No.
Okay, sorry, I wanted to say this, like, regardless of our age, even when you're 18 and over and an adult, we are still not safe from the internet. We still have to protect ourselves. We still have to regulate ourselves. We still have to seek counsel. We still have to consciously and intentionally ask myself, but why am I even looking up this information or this content? Why am I looking at it? If we as adults over 18 are not safe from the internet, we're not safe from scammers, we're not safe from stalkers, murderers, rapists, sex offenders, and all that stuff, what about a person who is below 18 years old? Please allow me to share a story. In 2004, a very bizarre story happened in rather in New Manchester. And the names of the children that were involved in this story have actually been sealed for their own protection for legal reasons. So this is what happened. A 14-year-old boy had a crush on his best friend, who was a guy. So he paraded as a girl on the internet and started a chat, or rather relationship, with his best friend online. Do you understand? So after the best friend kept on insisting on meeting this girl he thought he was talking about, the friend went on to end the relationship because he started feeling guilty. Do you understand what I mean? And then later he derived the most wicked plan, and that was to plot his death, him, the one who was catfishing his friend. So he tells his friend that he's another person who is from who is a spy, and telling the friend that he is wanted by the government, and telling the friend that he must kill him. You understand? Do you know what happened? The little boy, the best friend who didn't know what was going on, went on to stab his friend to the point of death. Do you understand what I mean? Almost the point of death. When investigations were put into the situation, he found out that this little boy was being told by his friend to go and kill him. So do you understand how dangerous and scary the internet can be? This is why some parents are like, I will even refuse, no internet in this house. You understand? No smartphones in this house. When you hear stories like this that are even making it to international news, that are happening in your own neighborhood, you can't blame a parent for completely, let's remove it completely, no. Until you're 21, 25 years old, then you can get a smartphone. Growing up, I said, for me in my era, smartphones were not even our problem because they hadn't yet even been invented. You understand?
Yeah.
We had the brick phone that had like one ringtone across all you. You understand? And there were like maybe 25 people in the country that had mobile phones at the time. Do you understand? So it keeps on changing. It goes down to any method. For me, I agree with any parent, because we don't know any parent's circumstances.
Yes.
I like the fact that Sarah mentioned about the fact that even as adults, we cannot escape the internet. And just, to digress a little bit, still speaking on the internet, how many people have been raised in well-to-do homes, and they're like, okay, you know what, you're 18, go live your life, figure it out yourself, and you find that they're addicted to things like pornography. Because they have access to the internet, no one has control over them. They're able to access whatever they want, but they don't have the guidance. Now, I'm not saying your parents are going to say, do not visit this site and this site and this site, but then maybe you actually need to control some of these things, even you as an adult. Even though your parents are not, you need to still carry that discipline forward. Otherwise, once you keep watching that pornography, you're either going to turn into a sex offender, you're going to now turn into this.
Yes. That is even too much. Look at every talent show in schools from kindergarten. What is the style of dancing? Twerking.
Definitely what they watch
It
on
is
TV.
twerking completely. You are seeing 6, 7, 8-year-olds twerking and gyrating themselves in very inappropriate, provocative ways, and we say that we are not going to do it. We are going to trust them. Trust them to make right decisions.
That's why there was a video.
And this is what they are saying.
I
You
think-
understand?
I think
No.
we all need to give
Absolutely
our opinions
not.
here. What I gave is my opinion.
Okay.
And I gave an opinion, I know where I'm coming from. You
Okay,
get?
Siobhan, you
But
did explain
exactly,
about it. Let's not
exactly.
get there again.
Exactly,
Let's not get
yes.
there again. So, for me, honestly, if you're a parent out there and what you choose for your child is deprivation, I wouldn't say a thing about it. The reason I say this is I was actually speaking to my auntie some time back, and until this day, she says, I'm not giving my child a smartphone, I'm not, doing all these things. And we're like, but why? I mean, if you don't give it to her, she'll find it at school. She has friends who have smartphones. She's like, you see, it's okay. If she can find that content there, much better. But I will not be responsible for, putting my child in this kind of situation. So for me, I will deprive them from having it. If they find it somewhere, I'll forever live, I'll not live with the guilt of knowing that I actually put my child in this kind of situation. So I totally understand for parents out there who control, their children from having smartphones and, watching all this explicit content. But let's talk about how, as a parent out there or a guardian, how you can help your child, incorporate all these parental controls into their lives so that you can control how much online content they actually consume. One of them is talk openly with your child about their online activity. As soon as your child starts accessing the internet, talk to them about what they are reading, watching, and who they are communicating with online, and keep the conversation going as they grow older. It doesn't matter whether they get to 18, 19, they're at university. Keep telling them as much as you can. It's very important. The other one is keep screens and devices where you can see them. Always monitor your child's time online, particularly younger children. Keep the computer in a central spot in the home where it's easy to keep an eye on what your child is doing and viewing online. For mobile devices, you can set them to forget the Wi-Fi passcodes. Yes, so your children cannot go online without you knowing. The other one is know your children's online friends. Very important. As adults, we know that some people online aren't who they say they are. Sarah talked about catfishes, that one. But children and young people can be alarming and naive about who they are chatting with if they are not taught to be cyber wise from an early age. The other one is share aware to protect your privacy. If your child is a regular user of social networks, they must be aware of the risk of personal information or images being made public once they post it. Now, while they won't fully understand the consequences of revealing personal information online, you should teach them to be conscious and thoughtful about what they post and share. What pictures are they sharing online? What content are they sharing with their friends? That is very important to note. The other one is lead by example. As a parent, as a guardian,
important.
Lead by example. Now listen,
yes,
leading by example and always being a model, the kind of positive online behavior you would like your children to use. If you are online, they are more likely to follow in your footsteps. And yes, this includes limiting your own screen time. So if your children are actually using your smartphone, now imagine this time, you've given them your smartphone and the first thing they watch is pornographic content, the first thing they watch is explicit content, all that. Then you're actually not leading by example. They'll definitely do. They'll say, my dad is doing this. So much as they shouldn't use it as an excuse, because earlier Shivan, you said, if you have, I don't know, alcohol in your bedroom, that is your bedroom.
Children read from parents' scripts.
That is absolutely
permission.
true.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That is absolutely true.
The habits that we do as parents rub off to our children, whether we like it or not.
So I will say that if anything, if you're buying like magazines, if you're buying newspapers, pick out those, pages that have explicit content and throw them or ban them. Do whatever you can do that your child do not have to read them.
Even you as a parent, what are you doing reading explicit content?
But we must also give the Uganda.
Exactly. People are weird. Like, what are you doing as a parent reading explicit content?
This is what I have to say, but we must also give credit to the Ugandan government, because watching pornography was banned in the country. And if anybody is found watching or promoting any pornography, then you may serve a sentence in jail or pay prosecuted, of course, or pay at least a fine of not more than 10 million Uganda shillings for that offense. But however, 200,000 Americans are addicted to pornography, and about 40 million Americans do visit pornographic websites on a daily. So that is a big, that is a big problem.
Who actually have kids.
So that is a
very
big problem. So that's a big problem. So as opposed to a lot more liberal countries like, in the West and whatnot, where anybody can access, I'd just like to commend our government for, putting a stand and saying, no, let us at least do something small, even if it is small. So it goes down to the government, it goes down to the parents, and it also goes down to the child themselves. We all have to be in line so that we can, just produce or rather have the next generations of Ugandans, making better choices. But then again, the thing is that the internet itself has been proved a problem to regulate, even by our own government. Yes. So it goes down to also talking to your child. Your child needs to understand the consequences of the content that they consume. It's very important.
I think you've kind of answered the question that I almost posed, and what I was going to say is how well can we allow our children, yes, the freedom to use the internet, because they may not run away from it. I mean, this e-learning, they might need to get information here and there. So how can we well allow them the freedom to actually use this, you know, iPads, computers, and every other thing, but still trying to ensure that these parental controls are in place? Or maybe as children they should know better.
Like I said, on the internet there's always age appropriate information. It could be about alcohol, it could be about sex, it could be about drugs, it could be about relationships, it could, whatever the case may be, career, whatever, there's always age appropriate content. So I think as parents, again, when it goes down to regulation, you have to be very present in your child to understand at what point what are they curious about now? What are they asking you about indirectly? Are they asking you, Mommy, when did you meet Daddy? How did you start dating? They're probably curious about relationships. So how about you be the one to initiate, to rather or control the narrative of that conversation? You get it? And lead them to sites where they're going to find age appropriate, you know, content about it. You get me? It could be about anything. You can talk to even a 4-year-old about, you know, reproductive health. But there's age appropriate content to it, you know, with, you know, playful cartoons, you know, talking about, you have to be involved with your child. Don't just leave them with their gadgets, because now your child is going to come and be all woke and say, Mommy, it is 2022, me I'm woke, that doesn't work, your ways are old-fashioned or whatever. You have to still be involved in your child's life. Supervision all the way till the day you die.
Briefly, ladies.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, for me, just also speak on that, I feel like, please, let's put our phones down when we get home, You've been away from home for like 10 hours. You get back on your, you get back home, you're on your phone, you're chatting with your WhatsApp friends, you're still calling Uwasa that you've been with for 10 hours. Like, put down that phone.
Is that a real thing or is that an example?
Put down that phone. Be actively involved in your child's activities. Yes, how did they spend the day? What did they access? What did they learn? What new thing did they come across? Like, actively get to, you know, understand them, because at the end of the day, it also builds the trust between both of you. They get to understand, okay, Mommy wants me to do this, and also you also get to get the trust in your child. At the end of the day, you know, if I say, oh, what's supposed to watch Netflix just the entire day and this is Peppa Pig, that's it. You know, they're going to do the same thing.
Shivana, Peppa Pig. I love Peppa Pig. Anyway, if there is one thing COVID-19 has taught us, it's that, or even what this world and this generation has taught us, is that we cannot do away without the internet. The internet, Google, we always say, you know, if you're feeling a certain type of way, just type. If you want information, go on the internet. And sickness, go on the internet. People are, I mean, we're in a time where students are doing online learning, they're doing their exams online. So you might not necessarily remove the internet. So removing the internet may not be the way to go. But if you have properly trained your child, there are sites that they will not type, or there are sites that they will not go to. But to answer your question, like what you said, I think it's very important that as parents, let's learn to lead by example. If you do not want your child watching videos of people gyrating and, you know, pouncing and bouncing, then you shouldn't be caught watching the same things. If you do not want your child accessing nude pictures and all these videos, what are they doing on your phone? Because, you know, children are crazy. Mommy, give me your phone. You've forgotten that in your Google pictures, you have some not so good pictures to be looking at, and they'll find them in your phone. So they'll be like, oh, if Mommy has this, then I can also have this on my tab. And they'll even go to school and tell their friends, I saw naked pictures in Mommy's phone. That is how crazy kids can actually get. So let's lead by example, and let's learn to trust our children that they will do as we have taught.
Yes, for me, I would say that before any other person, you know, comes into the picture, you as a parent, you're solely responsible for your child and their upbringing and, you know, every other content that they consume, let alone getting back to school. Can you do your part as a parent back at home? Can you ensure they don't have to, you know, read these magazines? Can you ensure they don't have to watch this explicit content? At the end of the day, charity begins at home. It's not just a saying, it's actually true. Well, that winds up the conversation that we had for you here on Our Views. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea and don't blink.
Well, I hope that you had a wonderful time with us right here at Sunrise at Sea on CTV, and we did definitely have a phenomenal show. As I leave, I'd like to challenge you today to evolve so much that you have to start reintroducing yourself to people. So learn, unlearn, heal, and please read up, and please be involved in every aspect in your life, with your career, your family, your kids, whatever the case may be, your health. And let us also go on to support our fellow athletes, or other countrymen who are participating at the World Athletics Championships in Oregon, UG. Well, Sunrise at Sea and CTV will be giving you all the highlights and updates of how they are faring in the games. Well, until tomorrow, same time, same place, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Please be kind, make wise choices, and follow SOPs as well. Bye-bye.